The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinePodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today it's my great pleasure to travel to central southeastern Tuscany, to Montalcino, to meet my guest, Magi of Podere Casisano. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Magi. How are you?
Thank you very much. Very well. Thank you, Marc, for inviting me. I'm so excited to be and to speak about the place where I work and live.
Well, it's a real pleasure to have you with us. And you sent me this morning the most beautiful picture of the view from the tasting room of Casisano. And I wonder if for our listeners, you can describe the area that you're in so they can gain a vivid picture in their minds of this very special corner of Tuscany.
So we are in south part of Tuscany, near under Siena, but the area in specific is Val d'Orcia. So is full of hills and beautiful landscape with cypress and the most important thing, full of vineyards. Also, today is a beautiful day. There's a sunny day, and I love autumn because it's full of leaves, full of colors, from deep red to yellow and brown. So very beautiful landscape.
Yes, and it isn't just the vines that the leaves are turning color. It's a very wooded area still, and you have this mix of woodland and vineyards and rolling hills, so it's really quite stunning.
Yes, it's beautiful, especially the wood forests nearby are particularly beautiful in this time of the year.
Okay. Now, Podere Casisano is part of the Tommasi Family estates portfolio. The Tommasi family are well known around the world, foremost for their outstanding wines produced in the Valpolicella. But they also have a number of wine estates all across Italy, including Casisano. Can you tell us a little bit about the Tommasi family and their activities and how Podere Casisano came about?
So the history of the family is very long, starts in 1902. But when the fourth generation joined to the business family in 1997, they decided to enrich its property, selecting outstanding terroirs. So they looked for Montalcino a property in Montalcino for a very long time. And finally, they found Casisano and bought it in 2015. So it's 8 years ago. They chose it for a different reason. One is because it's a beautiful estate, obviously, but it's a very on a high position. We are located in a terrace at 480 meters above the sea level. So we are one of the highest wineries in Montalcino area. So we are situated in southeast part of Montalcino, facing Sant'Angelo in Colle and Sant'Antimo Abbey. And our lowest vineyard is above 430 meters on the sea level. Another very interesting thing about our estate is that all our vineyards are next to the cellar. So we are not a big property. We have 9 hectares for the Brunello, 7 for the Rosso, and 6 for Sant'Antimo. So the vineyard extension in total is 22 hectares. So we are not very big winery. I would say we are quite medium small. The high density planted that we have in our vineyards, which is 5,000 plants per hectare gives us outstanding wines. They are all under Sangiovese Grosso. Sangiovese Grosso is a specific type. It's a grape of from which we produce Brunello di Montalcino, the wine we are famous for. The very important thing about the estate is that we are facing Monte Amiata, which is an active volcano, and the soil is composed by sandstone and marl rocks, rich in galestro. Galestro is a typical soil in Tuscany. It's a type of clay, and which gives superior quality wines with a lot of structure and acidity. It's optimal acidity. The wine, also the microclimate that we have here, because all the vineyards are next to the estate, we can have an eye on them and check them every day. The microclimate that we have here, microclimate, is that it's always windy, it's very ventilated. And this helps us to preserve the health of the grapes, especially before the harvest, because our harvest is very late it's late September, like this year is almost first days of October. And when it's rainy, it's foggy. So this wind helps us to dry the grapes and preserve their health.
Particularly important in a challenging year like this one has been with the excessive heat. And I know a lot of wine areas suffer from diseases such as downy mildew.
Yes, that's right. All around the area we were worried about it. The thing about this very small microclimate is that the wind really helped us to dry our grapes. So our grapes were not so with a lot of disease.
Okay. Well, you've actually given a really good overview there. So the Tommasi family wanted to have an estate in this very prestigious wine zone, perhaps Italy's most prestigious wine area. And as you've said, it's a wine zone that's dedicated almost exclusively to a single grape variety, this Brunello grape variety, this Sangiovese Grosso, a clone of Sangiovese. Actually, it's quite unique that in Italy that in the 19th century, this area was perhaps the earliest to have a dedicated clonal selection. And it is this single grape variety that produces the most famous wines, both the Rosso di Montalcino and the Brunello di Montalcino. What makes Sangiovese Grosso in the terroir of Montalcino such a special grape? What are some of the characteristics from both the terroir and the soil and your particular position in the southeast that this grape, how can express itself?
So because we are very high, the excellent thermal excursions give us a very complex nose, but elegant, excellent balance between the acidity and the tannins, which are quite important in Brunello wine. The Brunello is famous because you can keep for the long time that you can keep it in the bottle. More you keep the wine in the bottle, better will be the wine. So the soil gives olfactory sentence as well as on the palate very structure and complex flavor. For example, the plum that you can feel in our wines, it's specific in this area that you can recognize from the Sangiovese grape. Also, the red fruits and spicy nose are very characteristic to this area. And the soil, which is a part of the volcano area, and the clay gives a mark of this elegance and minerality in our wines. And all these elements gives us extraordinary longevity to this particular wine.
Okay, and I think it's important for our listeners to understand as well that Montalcino is a very complex wine zone that has different terroir throughout the vineyard, but also different expositions. So wines from the north, for example, will have a different character to wines from the southeastern corner. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. There's a very small micro zones that we can divide in Montalcino, but in my opinion, the most important thing also is how the wine is aged, because we have spoken about the soil and the Sangiovese, but Brunello in total time of aging aged for 5 years, and minimum for the rules that we have here age 2 years in oak barrels. So Casisano aged for 3 years. We call it traditional way of aging the wine because the first producers of Brunello aged the wine in big oak barrels from Slavonian oak. So we like to call us traditional producers because we age the wine in big barrels for 3 years. So it's very, very important that I also always to underline this, that give the big barrel and the Slavonian oak gives elegance to this particular wine.
Okay, and that is important for our listeners to understand as well. This incredible lengthy aging discipline that is a requirement to produce a Brunello di Montalcino, that the wines cannot be released until 5 years. Let's first of all, though, turn to a younger wine that you produce. Tell us about the Casisano Rosso di Montalcino.
Well, Rosso di Montalcino is, they call it young brother or of Brunello, but it's very important also by his own. All the wines that we produce in Montalcino are based on 100% one type of grape, which is Sangiovese Grosso. The Rosso di Montalcino is very nice, easy to drink. Is deep ruby red, nicely transparent color, but the fruit, the complex bouquet that you can feel is with a lot of violet plums and red berry fruits, which is very nice. And the bouquet invites you to drink it a little bit more every day. And the tannins and the acidity in our wines is really nice and fresh. And it's not a heavy wine because our wines age just 8 months in an oak barrel. So just to make the tannins a little bit more velvet, more elegant. So the wine is not so sharp and not so, I would say dry, but it's not the correct word, I would say. But it's easier to drink a little bit for like everyday wine.
Okay, so a fresher expression of Sangiovese Grosso and as well, perhaps more fruit in it as well, would you say?
Yes. It's definitely less bodied than the Brunello, which aged 3 years in oak barrel, so which is a full body wine, and with more complexity and also more body. So pair with, I would say, stronger food like wild boar or grilled meat.
Okay, so the Brunello has this as well in the winemaking process. It will have a longer maceration to extract a little bit more color and tannins as well as other elements. And then this lengthy aging in the big Slavonian botte. How large are these big barrels?
Well, our largest barrels are 65 hectoliters, and our oldest cellar, which is situated in an old barn yarn, has a very small door. So we have to build our barrels inside. We cannot transport them because they are so big that cannot fit in the door. So this huge Slavonian oak barrels, which gives more roundness in this kind of grapes and wine.
Italian Wine Podcast. If you think you love wine as much as we do, then give us a like and a follow anywhere you get your pods.
Magi, can we talk about another one of your wines, one of the most prestigious, the Colombaiolo Brunello di Montalcino Riserva? Tell us about this wine.
So our prestigious wine Colombaiolo Riserva is made by just one single vineyard which is facing the cellar, the closest one, on the highest position, 480 meters. So it's a single vineyard of 2 hectares, from which we select only the best grapes. We produce only 4,500 bottles of this special wine, and we add 1 extra aging of this wine in an oak barrel. So Brunello regular aged for 3 years in an oak barrel, big oak Slavonian barrels, but our Riserva, our Colombaiolo, aged for 1 extra year in tonneau, so 500 liters made by French oak. And this sweet spiciness that you can really feel it, and the body gives from the smaller barrels, it's something which gives even more balance to the structure and makes it feel very fresh and harmonious. The minerality and aromatic characteristics and persistence that you can feel makes it our best product from the
How
winery.
many years then after the harvest before Colombaiolo can be released?
Colombaiolo, we released it 6 years after the harvest. It's a very long time, one of the
And
longest.
that's really interesting for listeners to understand as well, that Brunello di Montalcino is a very special wine, and the wine producers take great care and expense to age these wines for such a lengthy period before they can be released. Generally, although they will improve for decades or more, once a wine is released, is it ready to be enjoyed and drunk?
It's always personal. It's always personal taste. When the Brunello is young, it's quite sharp. The tannins makes you feel the wine very dry. And in my opinion, if you could wait a little bit longer, the tannins will just refine in the bottle, will be more round and easier to drink. And also will be enjoyable with lighter food or just for meditation. So it really depends on your personal taste. If you like tannic, dry, you can like this wine, feel vibrant, drink it young as soon as will be released. If you prefer more rounder wines with the more velvet tannins, just if you can leave it in the bottle for 1 extra year, will be a little bit better in terms of enjoyable and drinking this kind of delicious wine.
That's very, very good advice. Now, you mentioned something very interesting there, meditation wine, vino da meditazione. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's turn to the typical gastronomy of Montalcino, of southern Tuscany perhaps, and how the wines of Casisano pair with the piatti tipici, the really typical foods.
So the really typical food in Montalcino is pinci alle briciole. Pisci in Tuscany, but pinci for Montalcino people is like a dialect form. And briciole means breadcrumbs, which are fried. So it's not a light, I would say, plate, but dish. But you can use Parmesan also and touch of spiciness if you want. But also another typical dish that you can find here is wild game. So wild boar or hare or roe deer. So this foods, especially if they are stuffed or grilled, pair perfectly with red wines as a Brunello di Montalcino, where the acidity and the tannin just clean your mouth from the fatness of the food.
Okay, so perhaps for those with those pinci, you might drink the Rosso di Montalcino.
Yes, that's right. Rosso pinci is the perfect combination, I would say.
The pinci, are they the same as the pici from Siena or from Montepulciano?
Yes. Yeah, noodles without egg, so just flour and water.
Okay, so a really simple dish with the fried breadcrumbs. I think it shows that although these wines are very grand and prestigious and appreciated around the world, the foods and the land itself is still quite humble.
Oh, yeah, but they are also in this area. It's so hard to just tell you 1 or 2 dishes that will combine with this food in this area. We have also pecorino from Pienza, which is
Okay, that wonderful
it
cheese.
is wonderful cheese, and especially when it's aged very long time, perfect. It's a perfect for our Riserva, for example, for Brunello Riserva, or the wines which has a very long persistence, because longer is intensity of food has to be longer, the persistence, the finish of the wines that you drink, to just balance it very well. So it's hard to tell you just one or two things that could perfectly be paired with our wines. There are so many.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure that's right. And I know there's very sophisticated cuisine in some of the restaurants in your area as well. But I think that mix of game, of cinghiale, of venison, I can really understand how well those foods with more robust flavors go with the beautiful Brunello di Montalcino wines, where the tannins are needed to help with this sort of richer flavored meats. But turning to this vino da meditazione, the meditation wine. I think that's really interesting because normally we think Italian wines are almost exclusively wines that are made, above all, to be enjoyed with foods. But sometimes a wine can be so complex, so beautiful, so interesting to discover as it evolves in the glass, that sometimes it's just best to sit around and just sip and enjoy and think about the wine, but maybe about other things too. Is that what you mean with a meditation wine?
Yes, if you take our best wine, Colombailo Riserva, and you pour it into the glass, you swirl it, and you start to meditate. So start to think about the flavors that you can feel in your glass. So we have a lot of our memories in our brain, our mind, that usually sometimes it's hard to recall. But if you would just concentrate on the wine and search the flavors, you can feel a lot of different ones. For example, my favorite fruit is the dried plum. So in every wine, I can immediately detect it. The spiciness, for example, I love the licorice, so I can detect it. The pepper, you can find, especially the women loves to flowers, so they can detect even different types of flowers in our wines. But especially if we are talking about also the fruits, the red fruits, the dark fruits that you can feel, like blueberries or red berries, which could be fresh, so like crunchy, crispy, but they could be also dried. And the raspberry that you can feel in our wines, it's amazing. So you can just we are talking about the wine for meditation, we're talking about enjoying and thinking about the wine to understand the process, understand the wines, feel the minerality, and try to figure out that there's a volcanic soil, so this kind of minerality you can feel in this wine. But just to concentrate on one moment, enjoy the minute that you're drinking an excellent wine.
Well, that's a beautiful description of some of the flavors and aromas that one will find in the Casisano Brunello wines, and I think that's really instructive to our listeners to take the time, especially for wines with complexity and structure and elegance, to not just drink them easily, but to really appreciate them. And one of the things I've found is with complex wines, the way a wine evolves in the glass, maybe 10 minutes later as you're swirling and tasting, the wines can change almost completely and reveal new flavors. So taking a more meditative approach, I think, is a very, very good advice. Now, final question. Tell me about wine hospitality at Casisano.
We offer 3 tours in our estate. One is Shades of Montalcino, a small winery journey to deepen the knowledge of Montalcino with its wines. Montalcino in verticale, so vertical of Montalcino, to discover the different vintages, back and current, and compare them. And also we have this particular Tommasi Family experience to lead you through the Tommasi Family estates wines, in this unforgettable experience, because you can taste also the Amarone from Valpolicella and Aglianico, so compare different regions and different kind of wines. It's amazing experience. Not just, Montalcino, which is very important, but you can compare also other very important wines. So this is an opportunity that we offer in our estate.
That's a wonderful opportunity because it also takes the taster from north, from the Veneto, from the Valpolicella wine hills to Tuscany, and then down to Basilicata for the Aglianico del Voltere. So that's a very interesting tasting, one that I would like to come to Montalcino to do with you, Magi.
Happy to guest you, to host you. Can't wait to show you this beautiful place.
Well, I look forward to it too. Thank you so much for being my guest today. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. You've told us the story of Casisano, but also we've told us a lot about Montalcino, about the wines, but also about this beautiful place. So I hope our listeners will be inspired to travel to Montalcino and to find you and organize a wine tasting with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you too for this beautiful conversation, and hope to guest you and in our winery.
Yes, me too. I would love to see you there. So grazie e a presto.
Grazie e a presto.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe right here or wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.